Minister, I welcome the core intention of this Guardianship of Infants bill. Any measure that seeks to strengthen the legal framework for protecting our most vulnerable children from those who would do them harm deserves full support. The provisions aimed at safeguarding children from the influence of individuals guilty of major crimes, enhancing care orders and promoting better interagency cooperation are, on paper, positive steps. We must always strive to put the welfare of the child first in our laws. However, I must speak plainly. Many people across this country will find it profoundly galling that Tusla, the very agency entrusted with child protection, is being further empowered and charged with making these orders. When it stands accused of being institutionally unfit for the task it already has, and there are many serious questions over Tusla, I certainly would have no confidence in them as a public representative. Time and time again, we have seen failures that should shake the confidence of every parent and every child and every citizen in this country. Just last year, there was the horrific alleged rape of a 10-year-old child in the care of the state at City West. A young girl who was under Tusla's guardianship. That's the fact of the matter. She absconded and was allegedly assaulted in circumstances that raise the most serious questions about supervision, placement safety and basic duty of care. How does a child in state care end up in such danger? This was not an isolated tragedy. It is, in fact, symptomatic of a deeper systemic problems within the system. And let us not forget the ongoing scandal that I have consistently highlighted in this House, which, in my mind, hasn't been dealt with appropriately or effectively at all. The findings of the SERP report were very disturbing, and they came from UCD academics. The title of the report was Protecting Against Predators. There's serious questions in that, serious questions for Tusla, and they have not been adequately dealt with. And I think, this state really should hang its head in shame that it hasn't adequately dealt with this, when the facts are laid bare and the evidence is laid bare within that SERP report. That report clearly laid bare how predatory gangs, often organised groups of men, are targeting and sexually exploiting vulnerable children, particularly girls, while they are under the care of Tusla, and that's under the state's watch. Children coerced into sexual acts in exchange for gifts, preyed upon because of their vulnerability, their instability and the gaps in the system, meant to protect them. This is grooming and exploitation on a scale that should demand a full public inquiry urgently. And it should demand decisive action because the report is very disturbing. Yet, the response has been nothing short of criminally inadequate. Minister, this bill is about protecting children from the influence of those guilty of major crimes, and that is certainly right and necessary. But even as we debate these measures here today, unknown quantities of vulnerable children remain in the care of the state, in the care of Tusla, acting as the state guardian. And they are being failed day in and day out, and young girls are being raped and exploited day in, day out under this state's watch. Children going missing from placements, children exposed to exploitation, and children whose basic safety cannot be guaranteed. And yet you want to give them more power, even though there's serious questions hanging over them already. It doesn't make sense to me. The state has taken on the role of parent for these boys and girls, yet too often it fails in that most fundamental duty. We cannot pass legislation that expands Tusla's role without simultaneously demanding radical reform, accountability and transparency and a proper inquiry. We need independent oversight, proper resourcing of frontline staff, rigorous vetting of placements and a zero-tolerance approach to failures that put children at risk. The public rightly expects that when the state removes a child from their family, it provides something better, something more stable, and not a new set of dangers. I support the bill's protective aims, But I urge the Minister to address these uncomfortable truths about Tusla. Our children deserve far more than fine words and amended legislation. They deserve a child protection system that adequately protects them. Anything less is a betrayal of the most vulnerable in our society, and it is neglect. So I'm asking once again for the findings, the disturbing findings in the SERP report, which was compiled by UCD academics, to be looked at, and for Tusla to be brought to an inquiry as soon as possible. Because it has to be. It has to be. It is going to be a big scandal in years to come. There's no doubt about that. And I think by ignoring it, it's making it worse. And certainly it's making the suffering more unbearable for all of those victims, mainly girls.
Thank you for watching. Please like and share.